What's going on, everyone? All right, we're back with some more Trails into Reverie. This should be my last video for Trails into Reverie before I move on and complete Azure and some other stuff. But well, you'll probably see this like long after that. But
Rendering browsing
we got the
interface.
last video here in Beyond the Reverie. These are kind of like manga. I keep saying it wrong, but manga novels here. The first one we did was with Reen going and visiting Calvert. I forgot what it was called. What was the last one called? I completely forgot. It was another Hot Springs Paradise. All right, and now we're going to move to this next one called An Unconventional Student. Let's get right on into it. Thank you guys for coming along this journey with me. This is our last vid. April, year 1208 of the Septian calendar. Aramis Academy is a famous educational institution in the Calvardian capital of Edith. The name derives from an artist central to Calvert's democratic revolution 100 years ago. This was also reflected in its goal of nurturing new talent and helping to forge a brighter future for the new republic. The Academy placed great value on traditional education, of course, but it also encouraged the perspectives of new cultures and values, attracting many an independent mind from across Lemuria. It was a storied place of learning that reflected the Republic's views as a whole. This story, for its part, begins not long after the Springtime Festival held yearly to welcome the new student body. It was just another morning at the academy, countless students shuffling through its grounds, when one of them in particular happened to draw an unusual amount of attention. The young lady had long, soft, violet hair crowned with a black ribbon. Is that, Ren? Her figure had been cut very respectably as she matured into a young woman of 17 years, and yet her face still held traces of girlhood days bygone. The beauty she was, she never failed to turn inquisitive heads as she strolled along. It's Ren! I was right. Hey, look at that. It's all grown up. Ren, 17 years old now. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I thought I saw. I've been trying to like not spoil myself on some further things, but I did see a screenshot of her. I thought it was her, but I didn't go dive into it because I didn't want to see spoilers. But yeah, it's Ren, man. Her name was Ren Bright. She was a second year student from however the hell you pronounce it, Royal Academy in the Borough. I always butcher the names, man. So, not studying at Aramis, I bet I'm saying that wrong, as part of an exchange program. She had only just arrived in the spring. Ren's goal in attending was not to further her education. She had been considered highly gifted since she was a child, having already earned several doctorates in years past. God damn! And there was little more a new academy could reasonably teach her. Her goal in reality was to use it as a front to operate freely in Calvert. That makes sense. So I wonder if she's fully working for the Bracers now. It was hard to find one better than being a student. She already found the role relatively foolproof during her time at Genis. Even if there were limits to how much a student could get away with, society as a whole was soft on school children. To move freely would also require drawing as little attention as possible. She aimed to conduct herself modestly, as an elegant young lady who wished to remain unseen should. A young lady who wished to remain unseen should, during her time at Aramis. There was just one very big problem with this plan. Good morning, Miss Bright. Isn't she just gorgeous? Look, I see her. She's so beautiful, and everyone says she's just as smart too. All she had to do was walk down the hall to be showered with greetings and whispers of envy and admiration. I mean, she's earned it. Her looks alone were already enough to make her the talk of the school, but after one of the teachers let slip that she received a perfect score on her entrance exam, there was suddenly not a single person who didn't know her name. The other students cared not how much she wanted to avoid drawing attention she was getting, whether she liked it or not. Sorry about that. Naturally, not everyone was pleased with the booming popularity this new transfer student had attained in less than a month. While most were busy fawning over Ren's arrival that morning, another group watched the charade unfold from the shadows, echoing audible tuts of displeasure. Oh shit. Ren had yet to be enrolled in any clubs, so as soon as the day's lesson had come to an end, she packed her belongings and stood to leave. A word, if I may, Miss Bright. It was a fellow classmate, surrounded by a small faction of students, clearly loyal to the King Bee. Boy, fucking with the wrong one. You don't even know, bro. Certainly. Though instinct told her this was not going to be a conversation she wanted to have, she made an effort to pretend otherwise. She would not be provoked into behaving as anything but a mature, modest young lady. I've been wanting to get to know you better for some time now, you see? So I was wondering if you might join me for dinner this evening. The boy, Ronald Griffith, okay, presented I'm sorry, a gentlemanly smile. Ren was very much used to being asked out like this, and never once did she accept. Okay, that young came out of nowhere. She always made up some excuse to turn him down. Today would be no different. I'm ever so sorry, but I'm afraid I have something urgent to take care of after school today. Some other time, perhaps. She just said no. This was usually enough to get them to give up, but Ronald was a persistent one. Well, that won't do. I have something very important to discuss with you, and I've already booked us a table at a very fine restaurant so we could discuss in detail. Is there really no way your business can wait? There was something ominous about his smile. Ren couldn't help but be curious what he was thinking. I'm afraid it can't. I'm so sorry after you've gone out of your way to prepare ahead of time. Still, I could spare a little time now, so I'd be happy to talk if that's all right. So, not tonight then. A pity. Ronald's tone read one less of genuine sadness and more of irritation that things were not going according to plan. Well aware that he let slip his true feelings on the matter, he quickly composed himself and smiled. Now it's better than ever, I suppose. This does concern everyone in the room, so perhaps it's all for the better said here. To this, Ren glanced around the room, noticing that only she, Ronald, and his lackeys were all who remained. Most were likely on their way home or in their respective clubs, while some would have ordinarily been in the classroom at this hour. She was certain none wanted anything to do with Ronald and his group. He took a step toward her and began to speak. I'm well aware, Miss Bright, that you have come all the way from a distant borough to be here. It's not unusual for students to transfer from afar for family reasons. But I hear, in your case, you came to Calvert just to learn in these hallowed halls. I cannot help but deeply admire your spirit and thirst for knowledge. Pure theatrics, this one. At the same time, I worry about you. Brilliant you may be, but living alone in a far-off land must be terribly alone and challenging affair. We all need someone to depend on in our lives, and that would be especially so in your situation. So if you don't mind me saying so, Miss Wright, I believe you're in need of someone to look after you, to protect you. Yeah, she would kill everybody in that room. At last, he shut up, giving Ren a chance to respond. She scrutinized him closely. In short, you'd like for me to join your circle of friends, correct? Ronald's smarmy smile broadened. His father was a senator in the Republic's parliament, meaning he held a significant amount of political power. His son used this to his full advantage ever since joining the academy. Ronald had used his father's name to form a faction of sorts among the students, forcibly building his reputation until he was the leading candidate for student council president in the election stage in half a month's time. So he's a dick. That's basically what it is. Douche, yeah. His goal, Ren soon, was to bring the hottest talk of the academy into his faction, to further secure his chances of victory. I think you'll find that joining us would help you feel much more secure and at home here. Or perhaps you don't yet appreciate just how much of a difference having someone like me backing you would make on your life as an exchange student. True, she used inwardly. Being in a group of high social standing would make it easier for her to gather information. If she could leverage his father's connections to build more of her own, that would pay itself in dividends in the days to come. The pompous boy had no way of knowing the actual circumstances that had brought her to Aramis, but his proposal was, in fact, very beneficial to her. She returned his smile with a modest one of her own as she answered. You kind of think so much of me, but I'm afraid I'll have to decline. Clear, unambiguous rejection. Ronald's lips were still curled into a smile, but he could not hide the twitch in his brow, nor could his hack lackeys hide their shock. They had, by all accounts, expected her to answer the opposite. Are you sure you won't reconsider, Miss Bright? Surely someone as brilliant as yourself can see why accepting my offer would be in your best interest. I fear if you don't now, you may well come to regret it. The last words were a hair slower and deliberate to intimidate her. Ren, of course, was never going to fall for it. I'll admit, it is a tempting proposal, tempting enough to inspire one to consider helping a certain someone win the student council selection. If only that someone weren't you. What did you just say? The sudden taunt caught him completely off guard, resulting in a flare of irritation escaping him. Ren, for her part, was unruffled by the change. I imagine you don't need me to explain why, but I will to be sure. I've been very aware that the threatening glares I always attract on the way to school every morning have been coming from all of you. They've been a constant in my life ever since just before the festival. All were flabbergasted by the statement, their silence confirming what she said to be true. She continued. Now you have every right to regard me without caution. I'm well aware of how much I stand out despite my best efforts. Taking potential threats under your own wing is a strategically sound move. However, that your target was so easily able to see through your scheme shows everyone here just how inept you really are. Damn. I have better things to do than assist someone so incompetent and small-minded. With a shrug and a sigh in somewhat dramatic fashion, Ren stood before Ronald, his shoulders trembling from rage. Good day to you all. Ren gave a courteous nod and acknowledgement before leaving the room, paying no mind to the wide eyes and the open slack jaws she left behind. A G, as always. So Agate ended up getting pretty beat up from one of Mom's crazy jobs she threw at him. We did get some good data out of it, but ouch. Your mom is always so funny. That night in the dormitory, Ren and Tita were engrossed in deep conversation through their laptops. Wait, Tita? Oh, I was going to say. Okay, so Tita's doing a video chat, okay. But it's always same old with all of you. I'm surprised there is anything of Agate left, with how often you tell me she has him nearly facing death. You two are in a rut. I know something that could spice things up. Maybe try adding a little romance to the mix, like a couple of bright-eyed lovebirds. We know. That was cool, bright-eyed. Okay. But, but we have agreed to go somewhere next week, so we're not in a complete rut. So they're together now. That's pretty cool. So now, yeah, because like 3 years, what? No, how long is this? Wait. So this is about 2 years later, so what, Tita's about 20 or 19, one of them now. Well, isn't that something? The stairs to adulthood await you, my dear friend. Ren. Tita graduated from the branch campus in Erebonia just as Ren left for Calvert. Okay, so she finally graduated, leaving them with no time to spend with one another in person. That wasn't ideal, of course, but from a hint of sadness came the habit of talking like this once a week so they could stay in each other's lives. They discussed anything from their new lives and environments to the fruits of their research, occasionally stumbling into a serious topical matter or two along the way. It sounds like a legal confrontation between the Verne Company and Epstein Foundation is inevitable at this point. I know. I can't believe this is really happening. Both frowned at their screens. A recent development concerning the Calvardian industrial giant Verne Company had become a key source of concern of them of late. Who's the chick at Verne? It began soon after Crossbell returned to normalcy after the Supreme Leaders takeover the previous year. Professor Erica Russell approached the Verne Company to propose that they join the West American Tech Union that she had been hard at work forming, and to no one's surprise, they refused. But before Erica and the rest of the engineers involved could even finish getting ready to go and change Verne's mind, something happened to make the Union the least of anyone's priorities. The independent development of a new generation of orbments and their generations, long partner in this subset of technology, the Epstein Foundation, would not be a collaborator. The latter had been key supporters of Zemuria's orbment development and orbital technology in general since their very inception. Battle orbments were no exception to this. The Foundation had known their way around them since the very first model, drafting an incredible concept that had been used as a base ever since. Even the Rainford Company, before the Battle of Jormungand, had thought to develop their Arcus models on their own, instead favoring to develop them in partnership with the Storied Institute. The announcement was, quite simply, unprecedented, and it sent shockwaves throughout the industry. The Epstein Foundation was also less than pleased about being cast aside in this manner. While there were certainly legal concerns regarding who owned the patent to this technology, the greater concern was that their stable position in the industry as a whole was now becoming unstable. They initially responded by attempting to resolve this through peaceful means, but when those attempts proved fruitless, it was reported that they were preparing for what could only be an ugly international legal dispute. I say Verne has the upper hand if this ever makes it to court. Unlike their previous Ramda orbments, this sixth generation is designed to set a whole new standard. All of its main features are packed with new tech, with some new features still being kept under wraps. My guess is that that's going to be in the new Kuro game. Well, I think they called it. They had that trailer that came today. I think it's called Trails to the Beyond, or something like that. I forgot. I passed by it a little too fast. I just was excited over the trailer. I wonder what those are. What could they be trying to develop that's important enough to ruin their relationship with the Foundation? Though I have heard about the government telling the Verne Company to focus more on weapons development, I have too. It sounds like they're planning on significantly revamp of the military's weaponry. The official story is that they're planning on slimming the military down, but if they're pairing that with the latest in weapons development, then they're still just as powerful, maybe more so. As part of the war's ceasefire agreement, Erebonia was required to downsize the military, bringing it more in line with that of Calvert's. Yet if the Republic were to expand the capabilities of its military, this recently forced equilibrium in superpowers would be quickly broken. Whatever may be true, I've got a lot of questions I need answers to. Maybe it would be worth visiting the Vern Company's headquarters in Basel at some point. I think Basel. You haven't learned anything more about where Professor Hamilton is at the moment, right? Nothing new or concrete, at least. It sounds like she's continuing her research eastward, but I haven't heard anything more specific than that. Mom and Grandpa haven't had any luck in contacting her either. I'm not surprised, since that area isn't very well connected, but it's still unfortunate. She's a lot more personable than Professor Schmidt, so having her on our side would help a lot. I wonder if we run into Tita's mother and father over there. Well, not her father. Sorry. Who is that? Not Tita's, but Ellie's. I'm sorry, Ellie's mother and father. Because aren't they like in Calvert? Like I think that's what they've been for a while. Tita could only laugh. Yeah, there's a lot of worrying stories going around now about PMCs and stuff like that. It makes me wonder if none of this would even be happening if she was still acting as advisor to for the Vern Company. The deeper into the conversation they went, the more Tita could feel her spirits sinking. The political climate in the western Zemuria was unusually stable at the moment, with its nations basking in prosperity. But she could not shake off the feeling that this peace was built over rotting wood, and that it could all come crashing down with but the slightest provocation. This was becoming especially true in the tech world, as it had undergone rapid growth in recent years compared to other fields, so rapid, in fact, that no base could possibly sustain its sudden weight without cracks beginning to form. Try not to dwell too much on the worst case scenario, Tita. This piece might rest on a knife's edge, but there's still plenty we can do to preserve it. That's why I'm here right now. And that's also why you're working so hard too. We could find a million problems in the world if we wanted, but pessimism isn't going to make them go away, right? The words filled Tita with the right amount of comfort she needed in the precise moment. Yeah, I guess you're right. Thanks, Rin. They continued on, losing track of time as they talked well into the night. Before they knew it, the clock had struck 12. Well, it's getting really late, so I should probably be going. I'll talk to you soon, okay? All right. Good night, Tita. Night. Oh, Tita suddenly remembered something. The exclamation stopped Rin just as she was about to end the call. Estelle and Joshua told me to ask if you're doing okay in school. Those two always worry too much. You'd think I wasn't talking to them too. She couldn't help but remember her interaction with Ronald after class, but Rin quickly drove the thought from her mind. It wasn't worth dredging up. Tell them they can rest easy. Everything is fine. Good. They wanted me to let them know if you were being bullied, so they could fly over and help. That's so random. For really? Rin could only sigh. Honestly, do they think I can't keep myself safe from a few schoolyard bullies? That's what I say. That's so random. And Joshua knows like Rin can more than take care of herself. She's killing like motherfuckers and and halfway destroying shit like buildings and all kind of shit when she was like 12. Like she was verifiably insane for a little while before she kind of got her mind right, you know. Actually, they said they were more worried about what you do to them than what they do to you. Exactly. At her friend's silence, Tita couldn't help but burst out laughing. I worry about you too, obviously, but they're probably right. How awful of you. Even if that were to happen to me, I wouldn't do half of what you're imagining. Not anymore, anyway. See, it's saying that kind of thing that makes people worry. Exactly. I'm a lady now. I need the magnanimity. Shit. I probably butchered that all the way. To forgive the transgressions of others. I'm just trying to do what I can to avoid standing out too much at school. You can try, but I think that's always been a lost cause. Anyway, now I'm really going to go before I remember something else. Anything else. Say hi to Zen for me if you run into him. I'm planning to go and see him and when everything calms down here, so we'll do. I've been meaning to go and see someone else I've been indebted to in the past too. My guess is that's Jorg or George Rosenberg. By the time the two of them had finished talking and ended the call, one day had given way to the next. The morning dawned, yet another day of school. However, just as she left her classroom in the main building at the start of lunch and went to descend the stairs, she felt someone suddenly draw near from behind her. Reflexively, she dodged out of the way. A female student then entered her field of vision. She had lost her balance, her expression a mix of fear and surprise. She passed through the spot Ren had moments before, but her momentum showed no sign of fading. If someone didn't stop her, she was going to start tumbling down the stairs. Ren was quick to grab her and pull her close. She supported the girl's weight with one arm, with all the grace of someone taking part in a ballroom dance, saving her from falling. Several students happened to witness the event unfold and could not help but a lit gasp of admiration. Noticing that the girl's eyes were still unfocused, Ren gently addressed her. "Are you all right? You aren't hurt, are you?" Finally realizing the situation she was in, the girl, whose face had become quite red, quickly straightened, her posture in a fluster. "Yes, I'm okay. You're Ren Bright from the next class over, aren't you? Thank you so much for helping me." "You're very welcome. But I would have to caution you from losing your composure like that right next to the staircase. Do you have some really urgent business to take care of?" The girl first frowned in response, then paused to think, then answered, "Nothing I can think of. It's weird, but even though it was probably my imagination, it felt like someone had pushed me from behind. Obviously, no one here would do that, so it must have just bumped into someone by accident." She thanked her rescuer again before disappearing into the distance. The situation she had deemed her imagination, however, lingered in Ren's mind. If I hadn't sensed something was amiss, both of us would have fallen down the stairs. We could have been badly hurt. Was it really just a coincidence, or was it a deliberate action by someone who wants to hurt me? If it was the latter, sorry about that. She didn't have anything to support this theory, but with it came a familiar sensation. The feeling of malicious stares focusing on her from the shadows. It took surprisingly little time for her suspicions to gain evidence. After finishing gym class the next day, Ren made for the classroom and began preparing for her next lesson. As she did, she immediately noticed something was amiss. All of her textbooks had been glued shut with an excessive amount of adhesive. Try as she did to open them, it was lost cause to get to even a single page. It was an obvious attempt to harass her. The culprits behind the act were equally obvious. Not far from where Ren was sitting, Ronald and his lackeys, whom she so memorably turned away 2 days prior, were snickering to themselves. Their eyes mockingly focused on Ren all the while. They're not even interested in hiding what they're like anymore. I'm sure at this point they want me to know who did it to intimidate me. This latest development also confirmed in her mind that they were responsible for trying to push her down the stairs the day before. What a pitiful sight they were. Because she refused to join their group, their existence was, in their eyes, now nothing more than a hindrance to Ronald's campaign for student council president. They would stop at nothing to either break her spirit or force her to join or shame her into lowering her popularity among the student body. It didn't matter that Ren had no interest in taking part in the election. After further inspecting the state of her textbooks, Ren's expression grew difficult to read. I think I can make them usable again, but not in what little time I have before class. The bell soon chimed to signal the start of her lesson. Ren left her textbooks out on top of her desk, making no effort to open them throughout. Her instructor was, of course, less than pleased about this perceived slight against them, picking her to answer a question as an attempt to chide her poor behavior. "Miss Bright, please read the next paragraph aloud for us." Ronald and his friend let out a series of pleased giggles at this, their minds delighting at the thought of a flustered Ren being told off and humiliated in front of the entire class. But what transpired in reality played out very differently from their fantasies. Ren's brain is like a damn computer, okay? Like, she has a photographic memory, eidetic memory. She probably can cite the whole damn textbook front to back. This is funny. Without missing a beat, Ren did exactly as she was told, reciting the selected paragraph she had been asked to read word for word. And all the while, her textbook remained closed. Did you memorize the entire book? Even the instructor could not hide their surprise. But of course, as a student of Aramis Academy, I would never dare to compromise in preparing for my lectures. Ren responded with such a grace that she, of course, drew in more sighs and coos of admiration from both her instructor and peers alike. It was only Ronald and his posse who groaned with sullen expressions. Yo! The next morning came on Ren's way to school the next morning. The next incident came on Ren's way to school the next morning. She entered the school gates with a horde of other students and was just about to step into the building when she noticed a foul smell coming from above her. She looked upward, noticing a portion of the fencing surrounding the building's rooftop was falling directly above her. Other students noticed at the same time, letting out screams of horror and worries they could do nothing about. I could get out of the way easily if I wanted, but the fencing was over 2 arcs in length. She could escape unharmed, but the other students around her would likely not. That was a risk she was unwilling to take. Grasping the battle ornament hidden in her bag, she cried out, "Airstrike!" A sphere of wind formed in response to her incantation, flying upward at the high speeds. She carefully controlled its power so that instead of sending the fence flying, it simply canceled out its momentum instead, allowing her to hop and catch it with ease. It was no accident. The smell makes it obvious. It was a distinct scent of liquid extracted from a certain plant monster. One of its properties was to imitate the natural corrosion of metal, resulting in its application in certain solvents. This made the fence falling a deliberate action the perpetrator had been trying to disguise as an accident. And with Ren having been the target of several malicious acts already, the culprit was clear. Again, she could feel the presence of those familiar hateful stares pouring into her from the shadows. But as well, they were not the only ones with eyes on her. Whoa, that was awesome. Did you see that? Is there anything she can't do? Ren's quiet meditation was disturbed by a multitude of cheers and applause from all around her. As if she were a performer just about to leave the stage, she gave an elegant bow in response.